Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. All right, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
So we are back with another episode here, and today we're going to be talking about marketing. So what prompted this was I had put up a post in our group, the dog trainer community, about it was something along the lines of like, what was something that you now know that you wish you wish you knew when you first started your business? And there was a whole variety of answers in there, but something that really stuck out to me about, maybe it's the fact that I own a marketing agency for dog trainers, was people writing, or somebody wrote something in there like marketing, and just plain and simple. Like, I wish that I knew that I should start marketing sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that, I've talked to thousands of dog trainers at this point. We've worked with hundreds, I've spoken to thousands, and I feel like something that's a big hang up for people is not marketing their business. And I think today what I really want to do is go into the psychology behind why we choose to do something or not do something. And so, Angel, why don't you kind of talk about this a little bit? And like, what do you notice with people when they first start marketing with us, or, anybody that you've spoken with that was hesitant to do it? Like, what do you notice as being the main reason that people are hesitant to get started with marketing?
Well, I mean, we talked about this a little bit like right before we hopped on here, and you mentioned that you think that people assume just like bigger businesses are the ones to market their business, or at least like do Google ads. And I think when people are talking about marketing, that's kind of what they're referring to, is like Google ads and kind of like paying for marketing services.
Yeah.
Um, Something that I think that people don't consider is that marketing is constant, even if you're not like actually running Google ads. And what I've noticed too, and I've had many conversations with a lot of our clients about this, is people lacking marketing themselves as well.
Hmm.
So, even regardless of who you're working with, like our clients, for example, just because you are running Google ads and paying for marketing and advertising services doesn't mean that you should ever stop marketing yourself.
Mm.
Um, Now, obviously, Google Ads, like that helps find people who are looking with intent. They have a dog, they need training, they're looking for you, they find you, and they're, inquiring about your services. Marketing yourself is, you know, networking with different businesses, getting your name out there, and intentionally getting out and working with dogs to spark up conversations with people and stuff like that. But like I
Yeah.
said, I feel like that is something that I've really noticed with a lot of people when it comes to marketing, is just because you've hired us and you're working with us, and we're gonna do our best at getting you as many leads as possible. But that doesn't ever mean that you should stop marketing yourself, you know?
Yeah, and marketing really is a math equation. Like we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about this for an ad account that we were discussing the other day. And I think some people have a fundamental misunderstanding of how marketing works. So using Google Ads as the example, because that's primarily what we're doing for all of our clients, is running their ads and, building landing pages for them and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, people have said stuff to us like, "Hey, I want this many leads." And so what that really means is like there's a math equation. So without doing my best to not totally nerd out on this and just bore everyone, put everyone to sleep here, you with paid ads, you have to set a budget. So you set a monthly budget, right? And so if it's $10 a day, 30 days in the month, that means that's a $300 a month budget, right? That's fine. And you've decided that that's the amount of money that you feel comfortable spending. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can just arbitrarily choose how many leads you're going to get for that budget, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the reason I was saying it's a math equation is, let's use simple numbers. Like if your budget is $10 a day, and in your market, it's a little bit more competitive and the average cost per click is $7 a click, then 1.5 clicks and your budget is done for the day. Your ads are done, right?
Hmm.
Whereas in other markets, it may be very cheap. It may be $3 a click. And so you can get 3 clicks in a day. Now, we typically recommend to people like, hey, don't start with anything less than $1,000. Like that's in 2025, it's not the way that it was back in 2008, where clicks are for 10 cents a click or something like that. It's like the average market is anywhere between $4 to $7, sometimes as high as like $15, depending on how competitive it is. But the
Hmm.
really amazing thing is if you guys are running your businesses the way that we teach people to do it, which is like selling high ticket programs, even if you have to pay $300 to acquire a client, yeah, it's not ideal. Obviously, you'd like to have to pay nothing to acquire a client, but at the end of the day, it's still profitable because you're selling something for $3,000 for your board and train. And so, you're 10x, you're getting a 10x return on that investment. So why don't you talk a little bit more about that and just kind of like what you've heard from people and just like the warped perception maybe as far as like what people think when they first get started with advertising versus as they grow and learn more about it.
Yeah, so talking about like the warped perception, I feel like we could go down a lot of different rabbit holes with this.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest thing that we always end up going into with this is sales. Is, people get in their leads and by the end of the month they're like, I guess getting to a point where they're like seeing how much money they're making or feeling like they're not making enough or anything like that. Like obviously with our services, it's not just running Google ads. There's a lot of other things that we offer.
Yeah.
Sales training being one of them, working through like your programs and pricing and all of that being another one of them. Um, but I think like, for example, someone getting in 30 leads in a month and feeling like it's not enough because they didn't make enough money. What we go to is, like I said, talking about sales and talking about their pricing. Because if you have really, really low prices and you have to sell, 15 people just to be able to get by, that's going to take a lot of work to get to a point where you want to grow and start making even more money. So
Yep.
obviously we're talking about raising your prices. The higher your prices are and you're selling a high ticketed programs, then you don't have to worry about making as many sales. Or when you do start making more sales, you're able to increase your profit for that month. Um, but yeah, like I said, I think it's like that is a big part of like people's warped perception is thinking that like their success or lack of success or anything like that is like directly correlated to the number of leads that they're getting, which it can be obviously if you're getting in zero leads or very,
Sure.
very little. But there's really something to say about like what we always talk about, answer your phone, really focus on understanding how to get people scheduled for consultations, how to do the consultations. Every little thing matters because if you
Yeah.
get, 30, 40 leads in a month and you're just kind of like vetting people on the phone every single time and saying like, oh, no one's serious. And then all of a sudden, you realize you've only had 5 consultations and only 2 of those sold.
Yeah.
It's then yeah, it is, I think, natural for people to think like I need more leads because I need to talk to more people. It's easier
Yeah.
to say that than to be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What can I make a change on? How can
Yeah.
I change up these conversations? And I think people fail to put into perspective, okay, I've talked to 45 people this month. Why did I only sell 2 of those?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Or, the marketing, these leads are no good or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to touch on that I'm really glad you brought that up because you can spend a lot of time in your business being really pissed off at people for being not good leads.
Hmm.
And the analogy I always use is like I heard this one time and it always stuck with me. It's like if you're somebody who's driving down the road and you're always pissed off at other people and calling them an asshole and this person sucks at driving and this person's driving too fast, this person driving too slow. If everyone else is the asshole, actually it turns out that like you are more than likely the asshole, right? If everyone else is the problem in life, like a lot of times it could be you. And
Yeah.
so I've had to like face this fact for myself in my own business where it's like in the beginning when I was first getting started out, like, hey, nobody's serious. Nobody wants to buy. It's like, that's because simply put, they're not sold.
Hmm.
Like if people don't buy, it's because they're not sold. That is the whole
Yeah.
thing. So keep that in mind. I work, I'm inside, we're inside of a coaching community and the owners of the program, they run a business that like their goal is this year is to be hitting $1 million a month, right? And I was talking to the COO of that company, this guy Alec, and he was like, most people just don't realize how what it actually takes in order to get people to buy. Taking a lead from cold to sold, getting somebody that doesn't really know that much about you, getting them to click on your ad and getting them to click on your ad and get in touch with you is like ironically the easier part. It's like what
Hmm.
happens after that is like really where the magic happens. Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of times people start conflating two things. They start conflating that sales and marketing are the same exact thing when they're not. Marketing exists to get people in touch with you, and then sales exists to get them to buy from you. And if people are getting in touch with you, the marketing is doing its job. If you're getting leads, the marketing is doing its job. Now, of course, there are instances where like you can do things to work on lead quality and stuff like that. But if you're getting leads, the marketing's doing its job. And if at that point you're getting the leads and they're not turning into buying customers, the sales process is what needs to be worked on. And that's a hard thing for people to hear because that just
Hmm.
means that like I need to do something differently. And I just want to like validate that for a second and say that is a hard thing to hear. I've been there
Yeah.
myself and realized like I just got 70 leads this month and nobody bought from me. It's like you need to take a look internally and say like there's things that I need to do differently because I'm not getting it done here.
Yeah, and like we've talked about in terms of sales, we've talked before about how like in, big corporate companies, people are hired on for a sales position. Like that is
Hmm.
their sole responsibility is sales. And so obviously it's a job in and of itself, but like you get the lead in, like you said, that's the easy part. People are looking for your services because they need them. They're looking
Yep.
for them, with intention. And then convincing someone to pay you $4,000 and convincing them to trust you and like you, being liked and being paid $4,000, that takes a lot of work,
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
someone. So yeah, you're right. That is the absolute hardest part. And obviously once you sign that person on, there's more work after that, but you already have them sold. You're just doing what you promised. So that is
Exactly.
the hardest part, is actually getting people across the finishing line.
Yeah, and I think I said this in one of the previous calls that we know people, and I'm sure there's somebody who's going to listen to this that can identify with this, that you spend all this time going to dog training seminars and listening to dog training podcasts, and all this advanced education for how to become the best dog trainer possible. And that's important to do. Don't get me wrong, but if you're the owner of a dog training business, you need to be putting the same amount of attention into getting better at becoming the best marketer and best
Hmm.
salesperson you can become to.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the type of thing that you may want to spend your time doing, but in reality, like that is what the business is requiring of you. It needs a good salesperson. It needs somebody to sell the product.
Hmm. Yeah. And like I said, marketing doesn't stop just by hiring someone.
Yeah.
I mean, the Google Ads part stops. You don't have to do that part, but marketing yourself and getting yourself out there is just as important.
Yeah, and I think that it comes back to the idea of, for me, if people aren't buying, then they're not sold. And I'll
Hmm.
add the caveat, not everybody's going to buy, right? But we have people that they don't qualify people that heavily on the consultations that they're doing, who they decide to go and meet with or not meet with. They're not sometimes it's worth qualifying people and saying, okay, this person's giving me a couple of big red flags. I'm not going to go meet with them. Something
Hmm.
like, I haven't worked in 30 years. I have no money. Okay, probably not a
Hmm.
good person to go spend your time with and do a
Yeah.
consultation with. Help them over the phone, give them a price. If they want to try and find a way to get money, then they can do that. It's not your ideal person. But everybody else who's just a price shopper, right? Like you need to go meet with those people and get them to stop price shopping. and make them realize that spending their money with you is going to be the best decision that they could ever make.
Yeah, I mean, when you buy a car, you price shop. When you're buying a house, you price shop. If
Yeah.
you need to get your dog trained and you know that it's not cheap, you price shop, but you can still, be sold just like
Yeah.
any other big purchase.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say before. I appreciate you reminding me of that. So, what I always say to people is, what in life would you ever buy that's worth thousands of dollars after calling a company and them saying, okay, it's gonna be $4,000. Cool, here's my card. Like I would never
Mm-hmm.
do that. Nobody would ever do that. So, but for some bizarre reason in our own business, we have this warped perception that that's the way that it's supposed to go. People are just supposed to see my ad, click on it, come to my website and be like, I read a couple interesting things here. I'm ready to do a $4,000 board and train. Doesn't
Yeah.
work like that, you know?
Yeah.
You would never, to your point, you would never be like, I'm in the market for a new car. Call up the local dealership and then say like, hey, how about this new, how about this new whatever, like Ford, and just be like, okay, how much is it gonna be? I don't know, probably about like $48,000. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my card information. It would never
Yeah.
happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I understand where people are coming from when they feel like it's appropriate to give prices over the phone, because if you were to call for any other service and you ask for prices, they might give you a range. If you
Yeah,
call a car dealership and you say, "Hey, I'm looking for this, I want to have this, I want, all of this," and they say, "Well, based on what you are looking for, we're probably going to be starting in like the $35,000 range." So you're getting a range. And I think people think that's also normal with dog training without understanding that there are some people who have just never had a dog before. There's some
yeah,
people who this is their first time ever that they're, signing their dog up for training. They don't even know, what, and I always say, like, some people just think training is training is training. Like, I want my dog to learn how to, sit and walk nicely on a leash, but like they don't really know like the ins and outs. So to them, it might seem like a super easy thing. Like, they're expecting to pay like $80, but when you get
yeah,
into a consultation, obviously that's the entire point of getting into it, is educating them and making them see the value in what they are paying for.
yeah.
I don't think people like really think about that. Not a lot of people truly understand training. And that is why we always highly encourage people to not give prices over the phone, because, you got to meet with them in order to show them the value and really educate them on what training is.
100%. And this is a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to say this. I've been joking the last couple of weeks, but really not joking by saying like I'm trying to be more intentional and forthcoming with what I actually believe, because when I first started doing this, like I didn't want to rock the boat with people. I didn't want to like say things that are going to like turn people away, and I wanted to be helpful and I wanted to be kind. But what I've noticed is I've actually been getting more or better feedback from people when they're like, I appreciate you being like ruthless about, I've really listened to what you were saying about answering your phone calls, and I've really taken that to heart. And I've noticed that in like responses to posts I've put up, and also like different phone calls and sales calls I've been on recently where people are like, I listened to that podcast with you guys and I've just been adamant about answering my phone. And so
Good.
yeah, it's really amazing. Like that really warmed my heart to hear that, because I was like, okay, I was fearful that I was going to turn people away, and maybe I have with certain people, but at the end of the day, I think that other people have really been receptive to it, and that is the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing to me, is that people are getting value out of this. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with this, which is I would be doing everybody who's listening to this a massive disservice if I just told you guys, yeah, those leads you're getting, they suck. And
Mm-hmm.
they're the problem and it's not you, Everyone else is
Yeah.
the problem. And that's not the truth. The truth is people are coming to you, they're asking you, and they're not buying from you. And here's the really hard pill to swallow. They still need dog training and they're probably buying it from somebody else. And so
Yeah.
you need to figure out like why they're not buying it from you.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you didn't just have 30 to 45 people reach out to you this month that originally wanted dog training and all of a sudden decided that they don't actually want dog training. They signed up. They're
Yeah.
getting dog training.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just like you're the kid in the dodgeball class who got didn't get picked. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
effectively like who you are right now. It's like, and it's not that you can't get better at that. Like you need to find a way to get better at that. And people will say stuff to me sometimes like, "Well, I called them and they didn't answer." It's like, here's what you need to do. You need to call them again and again and
Yeah.
again until they answer, right? And you need to
Hmm.
text them until they answer or they tell you to stop, right? But
Yeah.
so much of what that's rooted in is just like fear that like I don't want to annoy them. I don't want them to. It's like they reached out to you asking for your help. If they are that difficult of a person and they're going to say stop calling me after they reached out to you, then okay, fine. You're not going to have them as a client. You don't want them as a client, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, we actually had a client recently ask me tips on getting more reviews
Mm-hmm.
or asking people for more reviews. And they told me that like they had texted some of their clients asking for reviews, and the client said, like, yeah, I'll give you one, but then they didn't actually end up giving one.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just wanted tips on how to actually get them. And so I gave her some, but also said, like, just text them again and remind them.
Yeah.
Or when you go in for another lesson with them or meet up with them somehow, ask them again. Pretty much every single time you're with a client, if they had never left a review before, ask them for one, regardless of how many times you asked before or
Yeah.
previously. Because I think the biggest thing, this goes for reviews, this goes for following up with leads, this goes for like quite literally any client communication, is a big setback is people not wanting to like bug clients or
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're being annoying. Like, have no shame, bug them. They're the ones that
Yeah.
came to you because they needed your services. But even when it comes to reviews, like that was a big thing that I had to get over too, is like it was very uncomfy asking people for reviews.
Yeah.
And then even worse, asking them again after I already did it before. But then I finally, like, people were actually responding and like, oh, sorry, I forgot. And they would end up leaving a review. And so
Yeah.
I just got to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to have any shame. I'll
Yeah.
ask you a trillion times. And if you don't want to leave me one, you'll tell me, but no one actually says that.
That's exactly right. We all have all this fear that something bad is going to happen if we just stay engaged with people. And what I've found in my career thus far is people actually appreciate persistence if you do it
Hmm.
correctly. What's going to piss people off is if you follow up with them and like, "Are you ready to buy yet? Do you want to buy this program? Here, I sent you the invoice. Like, can you just pay that already?" Like
Yeah.
that's not what we're saying. But if you reach back out to people and be like, "Hey, just want to see if you're still interested in doing that consultation. You know, it's completely
Yeah.
free. Let me know when you want to get that set up." Or, "Hey, I have a couple of ideas I want to share with you. Would you have some time to talk this week? I just want to kind of, share a couple ideas that I thought of after we met." Whatever it
Yeah.
is. But at the end of the day, you have two options in this situation. You can either be worry about pissing somebody off, or you can be broke, and you can have a business that like goes under. So like, which one do you want to pick? You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, just to kind of go back to the original point here, and then we can end it for today because I really wanted to keep this conversation as pointed as possible. Focus on your sales process. Focus on getting better at that. I think that's like the number one takeaway from this, honestly, is there's so much good content out there. We've put out a good amount of podcasts on this. You can go through the group and, search for sales and just skim through the videos and look at, when we're talking about how to sell to people. Jeremy Miner, he's got a great he's written a book on it. He's got a lot of really good videos on sales. Alex Ramosi has several hour-long videos on sales and how to take somebody from cold to sold. The information's out there. You just got to sit down and watch it and consume it and study it.
Hmm.
It's boring. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like you're going to sit down and like fall in love with it. Some of you might, but it's what your business requires of you. It's like you got to learn how to do this stuff and get better. And
Yeah.
then really getting back to the initial point here of marketing, I wanted to say this earlier. When people ask me like, "Am I ready to do this? Should I do Google Ads? Do they really work?" What I always think about is like, you don't need to wonder if they work or not. Companies like Apple, Nike, Amazon, Walmart, multi-billion-dollar companies, they run Google Ads, they run Facebook ads. They don't run them because they like losing money. They know they make money, right? To
Hmm.
even take that a step further, one of my favorite things I've ever heard about business is, I think I've said this before. The way that Burger King decides where they're going to put their next location is they don't do a lot of market analysis. They don't like go crazy about it. The way they decide is they put it in the town that McDonald's already has a location in because they know they've
Mm.
already done all the heavy lifting. And so if you have companies in your market that are running Google Ads, you don't have to sit there and wonder, do Google Ads work? It's like these are companies that make hundreds of thousands of dollars training dogs and they sign on new clients every single month. Where do you think those clients are coming from? They're coming from the ads that they're running, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect example because then when you're in an area where you know there's other dog training companies and you're comparing yourself to them, like how are they getting so many clients? Like my ads aren't working. They're running the same ads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference in their sales process versus yours.
Yep.
So I think that's really good for people to think about.
Yeah, and not all ads are created equal. You know, that's
Hmm.
that's that's another important distinction here that I've had people say to me like, "Well, I did Google Ads and they didn't work. It was a big waste of money." It's like, "Did you run the ads?" Well, yeah, I did. I tried to do it myself. It's like, "Okay, well, how would you feel if somebody came to you and said like dog training as a whole is a scam. It doesn't work. It's a waste of money." Well, what happened? Did you pay a dog trainer? No, I tried to do it myself, right? I spent a lot of
Yeah.
money on an e-collar and it didn't work. It's like
Yeah.
you probably don't know what you're doing, you know? And so it's the same thing with this. What I always say to people is not all dog trainers, not all dog training programs are created equal, not all marketers, and not all marketing strategies are created equal. And so I mean, all I can do is speak to what we do, and I'm going to try really hard not to like shamelessly plug us, but I will say if you are looking for marketing, make sure to hit us up. Our calls are totally free, and we can like help you out with like a game plan call. But don't lose faith in advertising in general if you try something and it doesn't work right away. It's not
Hmm.
that advertising or marketing doesn't work. It's just that particular strategy that you had in place didn't work. And so
Yeah.
to me, it's not a matter of if it works, it's just a matter of finding out how to make it work, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point why you started Top Dog Advertising and why
Yeah.
we have these services. It's not just as simple as, oh, I want to run Google Ads, turn on, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much more work that goes into it and constant work.
Yeah, and I'll just finish up with this. Like I try to really have sympathy for people because sometimes you do get burned. And I've talked to people and like I just realize like, oh, they really did get screwed over by a different company or something like that, and it left a really bad taste in their mouth. But
Hmm.
what I'll say is like I've put up posts in the past, and not to point fingers and laugh at anybody. It's not what I'm doing here, I promise. But I put up a post a couple months ago about one of our clients, Marcus, who made like 90 grand in a month. And people were like, somebody said something along the lines of like, I'd believe this if it weren't this time of year, right? And it was a real head scratcher to me because I'm like, this person is totally doubting that this happened. And the insinuation is that I put something up and just totally fabricated and made it up, right?
Yeah.
And the really ironic thing is that like that's totally a mindset issue. That's totally like that person's problem that they're like they don't believe that that's possible. And Marcus just laughed and was like, I'm happy to send them like a screenshot of my bank account if they want me to like prove it. Like it's
Yeah.
very verifiably true. It's not something that's, whether it's objectively true. It's not like, subjective in the sense of like could or couldn't be. It's like, no, this happened. There was a certain amount of payments that were processed in this period of time. And so why I'm saying this is because I'll never forget one time I was driving around with my dad and we were driving through a really nice neighborhood and I was like, man, I was a little kid and I was like, I can't imagine like, living here. And he just said to me, he's like, there's a lot of money to be made in this world. And that always stuck with me that there's people out there that literally make millions of dollars a year. There's people that make $1 billion a year. And so much of it has to do with their mindset, skill set as well. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, there's a lot of people that won't even take the first step towards getting to a successful business and start marketing themselves. And what I always think about is how are you ever going to be successful if people can't find you or don't know about you? You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're actually taking way more of a risk in your business by not marketing yourself than you are by putting some money into it. Here's the thing. Worst case scenario, you put some money in, you lose 500 bucks, a grand or something like that. Upside, you make 10 grand, 20 grand. And so
Yeah.
I would rather take that risk all the time And again, just going back to what I was saying before, if you really break this down and think about not marketing your business, what you're really doing is crossing your fingers and just hoping against hope that the universe just smiles favorably upon you and starts sending you leads just because it likes you and just because like it wants to see you do well or something like that. It's like, it's just not how it
Yeah.
works. You need to take the bull by the horns and go and start like making moves to get people in touch with you. And now I'll
Yeah.
officially get off my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question to ask yourself if you're not running Google Ads or marketing in any way is how are you going to get the business?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
that's it. Ask yourself that. How are you going to get the business? How are people going to know about you or find you or inquire about your services?
Wow, that you just perfectly said in about 10 seconds what I just took about 25 minutes to say. That's exactly it. That is a really good question to think about. How
Hmm.
are people going to find you? How are you going to get clients?
Yeah.
You know? Because if the answer is like I don't know, then it's like you're done for and you need to figure something out.
Yeah. Like I said, it's important to ask yourself those questions and also just like question your own logic sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
people do it when they hear, let's say like us with clients or like dog trainers with their clients. You hear your client say something and you're like, I don't quite understand that. You have to question it a little bit more, or like, I don't understand your logic. It's the same thing with yourself,
Yeah.
except you're running a whole business. Is like ask yourself those specific questions, figure out where your logic is coming from
Yeah.
instead of just like, I'm going to sit back and I'm running a dog training business and I'm going to hope that people find me while I'm just kind of hanging out here,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Yeah, everything in life is worth questioning. You have to question your own belief system. Like if you find yourself sitting there and going like Google ads or Facebook ads, they're total BS. They're a scam or something like that, right? Or,
Yeah.
a big one is like coaching is a scam or something like that. Just these online gurus trying to sell something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people say the same thing about dog trainers. Like that's just board and trains are a scam. You don't need to pay for that. Like it's like you need to sit there and audit where this thought is coming from. Where did this originate from? Who did you hear this from? Like, question the source. I've gone along with stuff in my life for a long time, thinking like accepting something as just an absolute truth that I later think about, and I'm like, that was really stupid. It's just not even there's no validity to that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, we'll wrap it up here. I know that this kind of got off on a tangent, but
As it always does.
yeah. But like I said before, if you guys need help with marketing or you want to clarify anything, you have any questions, like feel free to reach out to anybody on our team and we can help you guys get set up with a completely free call to discuss like a marketing strategy for you. But if there's just things that you want like clarity on, if you guys want us to do a video more so geared towards Google Ads and talking about how to run Google Ads, like we can do that. But just do me a favor and give us some feedback on these episodes so that we kind of know like what you're looking for and what we can do to assist you guys in your business. So with that being said, we'll wrap it up here for today. But if you guys need anything in the meantime, just drop a comment down below and we'll make sure to get to you. All right, guys. See you later.
Bye.